Hi, welcome to the Kitchen of Eden. Today we're going to be making a traditional Portuguese soup called Kale Soup. Very basic recipe, doesn't take many ingredients, and if you come and look at over here, we're going to be starting off with onions and garlic as norm, and then once we add water, bring it to a boil, we're going to be adding a beef shank and about a 3/4 pound of linguica. I use the mild. If you like spicy, by all means do the spicy linguica. And then after that, we'll be peeling and cubing these potatoes and adding them to it, as well as the beans. And then, well, if I feel like it needs some flavor, we will add beef bouillon, but that's kind of like we just play it the way, see how it tastes. Taste it. If we think it needs beef bouillon, we'll add that. And then we'll add a full bunch of kale. With no stems, so just some kale. You can use flat collard greens, which aren't curly, just like a little different than the kale. And then lastly, we'll be adding the orzo, or any type of pasta that you want, but I think the orzo is nice. Or you could add rice. If you want it to be gluten-free, you could add the rice. Okay, so let's come over to the stove and start off by sautéing the garlic and onions. All right, first of all, we're going to be putting the heat on about a medium heat, adding about a tablespoon of olive oil. And then starting off with the onions, which all the measurements will be down below in my comments, but it's about 1 large onion. Now, I have no idea how much water I put in this, so I'm going to be finding out how much water I put in this when I'm going to be measuring it out, because I usually put about a half a pot, but my pot could be bigger than your pot. So we're going to be measuring it out together today, and we'll find out about how much water we need to put into this. So we're going to saute these onions for about 2 minutes, add the garlic, saute for another couple minutes, and then we're going to add the water in. Okay, so now we're going to add the garlic. I measured it out today, and it's about 1/3 of a cup of freshly chopped garlic. So let's put that in. And we'll saute that for another minute or two. Okay, so now we're going to be adding water. Ready? 4 cups going in. Okay, now this is going to be the time of trying to figure out how much water I actually use in the soup, because I have no clue. All right, so we have 2 quarts going in. I'm going to say at least another quart, so let's do that. All right, so here's 3 quarts. I think this is going to do it. Okay, so we're going to bring this to a rapid boil, and then we're going to add the meat. Okay, so I measured it all out, and we've added 12 cups or 3 quarts of water. We're going to cover it, put it on high heat, and bring it to a rapid boil. And then we'll be adding the meats. The pot's come to a rapid boil, so we're going to add the beef shank and the linguica. I have cut the linguica into about a 3-inch length. So we're going to throw those in, as well as the beef shank, and we're going to let that boil for about 25 to 30 minutes. Cover it back up. Keep it on to a medium to high heat. It's been about 10 minutes into the boiling process, and by looking at the meat and smelling the broth, I feel like it needs a little more flavor, so I'm going to add about a tablespoon of beef broth, or you could use, if you don't have beef, like powdered bouillon like this, you could use like a large bouillon cube of beef bouillon. So I'm going to add a tablespoon. If you have the small little cubes, use 2 or 3 of them. So I'm going to add that in just for some extra flavor, and just continue for the rest of the time, for the rest of 20 minutes, and then we'll be adding in the potatoes, kale, and so on. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes since we added the beef shank and the linguica, and now we're about to add the potatoes, kale, and red kidney beans. I've diced the potatoes to about a cube size, almost like a sugar cube. I've chopped and washed the kale very coarsely, nothing fancy. It's like spinach, it kind of shrinks up once you put it in the boiling water, and a can of dark red kidney beans. So let's go ahead and put that in. Potatoes in first. There's no, I don't know why I put them in this order, but I always have. Potatoes, kale, beans on top. And then lastly, the beans. And then just stir that all together and cover and simmer for another 15 to 20 minutes. Leaving the linguica and the beef shank in. We will take it out later and cut it up and then throw it back in. Okay, so we'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, so it's been about 20 minutes and it's time to add the orzo. I'm putting in a half a cup of orzo. And if you're zooming in, you can see that the kale is very well cooked. I can bring up some potatoes and show you that they're just about cooked as well. And then in the remaining time with the pasta, they'll be fully cooked. So let's add the orzo, half a cup. And we're also going to add some salt and pepper to taste. So that's totally up to you. I would suggest maybe a half a teaspoon to a full teaspoon of salt and quarter to half of pepper. Okay, so we're gonna let this cook about 10 to 12 minutes after we add the salt and pepper, and we're gonna take out the meat, chop it up, and it'll be done. All right, covering it up again. Okay, so it's been about 12 minutes and we're going to be removing the meat from the pot. We're going to continue to simmer on a low heat. So we're going to take the meat and we're going to bring it over to the cutting board and cut it into chunks and then add it back into the soup. That there simmering, and I'm going to bring this over to the cutting board and we're going to chop this into pieces here. The linguica you're going to want to cut into a half first. And then you'll want to cut it into small pieces from there. Alright, so I have all the linguica chopped up here in the measuring cup, and the beef shank, I'm just going to kind of check it out. If I think there's any meat worth saving on it, I'll throw it in the soup. That's totally up to you. You don't have to. Let me just cut around it. See what we got here. I guess we could throw some in. Yeah, it's not bad. Just cut it up fine. Got some fat in it though, so that's totally your call whether you want to keep it. The point of the shank is mostly for flavor. So I've cut up what I think is decent from the beef shank. I'm going to add it to my linguica cup and we're going to come over to the soup and add it in and it'll be done. Okay, so we're over back at the pot of soup. Adding the meat back in. Looks like everything's nice and cooked. Ooh, and I forgot a piece of beef. Ha ha ha. It's okay. No big deal. Just take it out and cut it up if you want. Alright, right, there you have it. Kale soup, Portuguese style.